Okay, so we're going to be reading 恐竜の図鑑, the dinosaur encyclopedia book. So our first sentence is going to go to Zapic.
OK。ジャックがようやくツリーハウスに上がってみると、小屋の中は本当に本でいっぱいだった。
So our first part is ジャックがようやくツリーハウスに這い上がってみる. So do you know what 這い上がる means?
え上がった。It isn't like enter?
It is close to hit enter. It's not 入る though, which is to enter. It's 這う, which is to crawl. So it's to crawl up into is
Oh,
what it's saying. So it's kind of like saying he scrambled in there.
yeah.
Do you know what the yoyaku is telling us?
It's finally.
Yeah, it's like a final. Perfect. And then we have this to, which we talked about last time we met what it meant, what that's telling us.
Oh, my memory is failing me.
So this is officially a way to say when or if in Japanese, but it's commonly used to say we do the first action, and this is what the second thing is that we observed immediately after doing that. Most
Yeah, okay.
commonly, if you have like a miru or something in there, and that's probably the best way to think about it in this specific context. So, what was in the treehouse? What did he notice?
It was really a lot of books there.
There really truly was a lot of books in there. And Grayson, the next line will be for you.
あ誇りをかぶった古い本もあれば、ピカピカの新しい本もある。
Perfect. Do you know what hokori is?
あoh,
Nope. Hokori is
no.
dust.
Oh, okay.
So we're describing these books as being furui and being kabutad with dust. What do you think that means?
Furui is old, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing covered in dust.
Yep, kaburu is meaning covered in this context. This is the same kaburu as when you put on a hat. That kind of idea. So exactly. So the most complicated part here is really this reba. This is a lot like to, as in this is one of the many ways to say when slash if in Japanese. So this is the first time we've seen reba in the book so far. But we've seen nada and to as our when slash ifs. Reba is more of a generic. It's used when none of the others works, but it's being used in this context to basically mean if you say this exists, then the other thing also would exist. But it literally just means both these things are existing. It's just allowing us to do a little bit more of a comparison to feel more literally, like kind of like that. But it's literally just saying both of these things exist in this location. So we wouldn't really use when if in that kind of. So we have books that are old and covered in dust. What other books do we have in this place?
Atarashi is new, so we also have
Hmm
new books.
Exactly. And pika pika is the sound effect of something sparkling, normally because
Oh,
it's new.
okay.
So
Okay,
it's
like Pikachu.
like Pikachu. The Pikachu sparkling like electronic, but they're both that same kind of idea. Um, so the next line here will go to Zapic.
ほら、見て。あんなに遠くまで見えるのよ。見えるのよ。So look here. Uh, we can really see far away.
Exactly, perfect. Annie が窓の外を指さした. That's what Annie says as she points out the window. Jack も窓から外を眺めた. Jack, he also gazed outside from the window. This next line here is going to go to Grayson.
この夏の日は Mori no do no kiyo rimo takai yoda. This yeah, okay, apparently evergreen tree.
Mm-hmm.
Kitsuno. Okay.
It's takai yoda.
Yeah, the wood. Dono ki.
So I would say the easiest way to do this at first is to start with the split it up into smaller parts. So the
Okay.
main sentence here is kono kashi no ki wa takai you da. And then the other stuff
Yeah.
is like adding more information to that. So I'd
The
start
tree
with
the tree is tall.
yes, but specifically with yo, it's adding more like it seems like to the sentence. It seems like this tree is tall. And then we're
Uh-huh.
describing how tall it is with the yori here. Do you know what yori means?
No.
Yori is a comparison word, meaning whatever it's attached to is smaller in the context of whatever adjective is at the end of the sentences. So it means like less than, or if you're comparing it to this, the subject of the sentence is going to be more whatever the verb is. So the Kashina tree is taller than Mori no Donoki, is what it's saying. So
No.
Dono is probably something you haven't seen anymore, but are you able to guess what that does look
Which?
like? Yes, which.
Yeah.
So whichever tree is probably what we'd say in English, donoki.
Yeah. Whichever tree in the woods.
Mm-hmm. So altogether, what is it saying? Kono kashi no ki wa?
This evergreen was the tallest tree in the woods.
Yep, no matter which tree you compared it to, this tree was the tallest tree in the woods. And then we just got someone popping in. Afifa, your turn.
Yeah. What do you do?
So all you gotta do is read the sentence. We can have Zapic do first, and then you can have a turn afterwards, since you did pop in halfway through Grayson. So Zapic, why don't you do this? So
Yeah.
all Zapic's gonna do is read these one line, and then they're gonna try translating it.
ツリーハウスの窓からは、フログクリークの街が全部見渡せる。So from the window of the treehouse, they could see all of the Frog Creek
Yeah.
streets,
Yeah, not streets though, it's machi, not
town.
michi. Yes,
Yeah.
the town. Perfect. Yep, they were able to see all over it. That's as far as they could see. Perfect. So the next sentence here will go to you then, Afifa.
遠くに先まで行った図書館が見えた。
It's a little bit harder because we were having context in here. I would start here with toshokan ga mieta. What does that mean?
I can see the library.
Yes, we can see the
Okay.
library. And then what we have right here is a relative clause describing that library. It's a library that itad. Do you know what the verb iru means?
To be? No, to.
Yeah, to be,
Yeah.
to exist. Can this be used with inanimate objects? Can the
Yes.
toshokan iru?
Wait, no.
No, yes, the
No, no,
toshokan
no.
cannot iru. So this means that even though we're describing the library with existing, it's not the library that's existing. Library must be the location in which something else existed. So this is full context based of knowing, oh, we must be talking about somebody else existing at the library because it's not possible for the library to exist with iru. If this said atta, it could be describing the library as having had existed, such as like maybe like the library exploded and say, oh, we could see where the library used to be. Could be something like that. But since we're using iru, we know we're not doing that. That's not possible because libraries are not sentient. They do not have feelings. So instead, something else must have been at the library. And I don't know if you were here last time we read this or not. My memory's like a chicken.
I was not.
Yeah. So what happened is that Jack and Annie were at the library earlier and had just come back from the library heading home when they were like, ooh, let's go run in the woods. And ooh, look, there's a treehouse. So the context is that it was the library they were at, sakimade. Any idea what that means?
Just now?
Yes, just now. It's a library they were just at. They're able to see. And they're able to see it, describing it as tokuni. Any idea what that's adding to the sentence?
I guess Tokuni is like in the far distance.
Yes, that's
maybe.
exactly what it says. In the far distance, we can see the library that we were just at earlier, is what that's saying. So perfect. 学校も公園も見える. We can also see the park and the school. And the next line here is going to go to Grayson.
私たちのうちも見えるは、ほら、あそこ。うち、house. Watashi tachi, that's with our house. We can also see our house.
Yes.
Hora, I'm not sure. Asoko
Hora
like,
means like look this way.
oh, okay.
It's just like a generic hey kind of word.
Asoko is like over there.
Yes, over
Right?
there, far in the distance. Perfect.
Okay.
Ah, 本当だ. Oh, you're right. And the next little paragraph is going to go to Zapic.
通りの向こうに見える、緑色のポーチのついた白い家がそうだ。
So before you translate this, I just thought I'd explain the grammar going on here. That this comma that occurs right after a verb in the middle of the sentence like this is letting us know that this is a relative clause and that the other one is also a relative clause. And they're all describing the next noun that's coming up. If these commas weren't here, then the meaning would be very different. It could say mieru midori iro no pochi would mean the midori that we could see, but instead it's saying the thing that we can see is the ie. And the thing
I
that
see.
has something tsuita is also the ie. So that's what those commas are telling us.
So they're talking about greenhouse.
It's a shiroi ie.
Okay. 緑色の、the green Porsche and the house is white and they can see it like far away.
Yeah, they can see it. But far away is not here. It says tori no muko. So tori means street, and muko means across the street. So we can see across a street there is a ie, and this ie, like we said, was white, but it has a pochi tsuita to it. So this is a tsuku to be attached. So we have a midori porch. So we have our house like that. Very badly drawn, but that's all it's saying. And so is here acting as that same kind of vague, since it does seem like there's that house there. Theoretically, maybe it's not their house, but pretty likely it's the house. Afifa, your turn.
通りの家で飼っている犬のヘンリーも小さく見える。
So we can mieru something. What do you think we can mieru? It's a little hard because the ga has been replaced with mo, which is the word even in this context. It means also. So we can also mieru henri. What does that mean?
Henry?
Yes, we can see Henry.
We can
And
see
we can
Henry.
see Henry in a chisaku kind of way. What do you think that means?
Small way?
Yeah, he looks really small. That's the way in which we see him as. And we're describing Henry as Inu no Henry. What does that tell us?
The dog of Henry?
Yes, the dog
No.
Henry. That would be the most logical assumption to make in this context. It is theoretically possible. It is the dog's Henry, saying like the dog has a pet Henry, but that would be a strange thing to assume. So it makes more sense to assume this is the name of the dog. Henry, the dog. But that is full context based. And now we have this comma. Do you remember what I just said commas can tell us?
No.
It basically means it's going to be describing like a noun normally in some kind of way, if it's like right after iru like that. In this case, it's basically skipping over inu to be describing Henry, I guess. Could be how you would argue why it's there, rather than saying it's the dog that's katteiru, it's the Henry that's katteiru. Not that it really matters, but this is a clause, a sentence, that is just describing the dog. It is this dog that has been katteiru. Do you know what this kao means?
Like doing something in your own way?
No,
Or
it
like
is to
selfishly?
raise a pet. That's what this kanji is telling us. So it just means it's the pet that is owned by the tonari no ie. Do you know what tonari means?
Neighbor?
Yes, the neighbor's house. So it says we can we can slightly see Henry, the dog, who is the dog of the neighbors, of the next door house's dog.
Can you also say sodateru?
Sodateru? You wouldn't, like, in this context, that would be a little bit weird. Sodateru is more commonly, is like the nurture something, so it's more commonly used with, like, human children. Or if they were, like, raising this dog as, like, a dog performer, I would say you could do that. It has, like, more connotation of, like, putting effort into the raising, while kao is just talking about the ownership of some kind of pet. So the sodateru would just be adding more information that we don't necessarily have in the context. So it'd be more natural to say it's the neighbor's pet than it's the pet dog the neighbors have been raising for a while. He's gonna be like a cool dog. And just sodateru just adds more to it. Like you can sodateru a dog, I think, but it just would insinuate more effort onto the part. It's more commonly used with things like and I think plants, but mostly like children tends to be where you see sodateru. Yahoo, Henry! Annieが叫んだ. Hey, Henry! Is what Annie yells. And the next sentence here, sorry, two sentences is going to go to Grayson.
Si ここにいるのがバレたらまずいよ。
Shish! ここにいるのがバレたらまずいよ. So Tara, we found the last if when. Here's our if / when. We've now seen them all. Yeah.
About the little soup, because I always thought of that as something that makes the following letter double. But
yes, if you're writing it in Furi, if you're writing it with Romanji, it would be double. It's the glottal stop marker, right? Uh-oh.
Okay.
That's what it's so kakko. Things like that. It's a pause in the word. So that is written with two letters, right? Kakko. Things like that would be two Ks.
Is it only the glottal stop though, or does the following letter sound any different?
The previous consonant is being held for a longer period of time. So it's a glottal stop with things like K, but if you're talking about like an SH sound, like shush, it's normally a longer shush sound that tends to occur rather than actually a pause. So a glottal stop would be like hakken, but shashin, right? That has a glottal spot in there, but it's not shashin. You'd say shashin. It gets this a longer shush sound. So So it is theoretically, you're making the consonant longer, and for certain consonants, that is holding your breath. And for other consonants, that's just making it exist for a longer period of time.
Okay.
But in this context, you're right that this is conveying meaning. This is also occurring over here later on as well. This is a sign of like, ha! Or the tish. It's just making the sound very aggressive of a non-word thing, to show that it's just saying, they're not saying sh, you know, they're not doing that. They're putting emphasis into this word. So that's what that does. You'll see this sometimes after a word as well, to show that they like had some kind of like type of thing happening when they're saying it. So here he's just saying he very harshly went shh rather than going.
Yeah, I think I was mostly just be a little confused how to pronounce this with the like dash to say elongate this
And then it's short, but it just is saying add stress to the end is basically what it's saying there. Kind of spit it out. Yeah, I see why that'd be confusing, because it's long chi then short chi. What? It's just adding that aggression. Shush.
ここに色のがI mean
I'm gonna erase this for now.
Okay.
We'll explain. It's more complicated. So tada, I told you, is an if/when statement. It's the first time we've seen it in this book. Does anybody happen to know what it is? I just don't know what your guys' levels are at. I feel like it's an earlier if/when that's learned versus like nada. I feel like it's really late. And to, I don't think is also really late. I just don't know if anybody happens to see that. So tada is a specific occasion. For example, if I said natsu ni kitara, when summer comes, Nihon ni iku, I will go to Japan, that does not mean every single time summer comes, I'm going to go to Japan, or that I will suddenly appear in Japan magically whenever the summer season comes. It means that at this moment, when summer is coming, I do intend on going to Japan. So it has more of a less aggressive meaning, but also like we're talking about the upcoming event. So the upcoming event is bareru. Do you know what bareru means? Bareru is to be caught red-handed. Bareru. So to be caught. But it's like not to capture someone, it's like to be caught red-handed, specifically. To be found out in a negative context. So if we were found out, it could be when, but if would make more sense in this English context, because remember, in Japanese, there's no difference between the hypothetical and the statement. Instead, it's split to different things. So here it's if, but we're using this if because it's occasion specific, the upcoming if. So if we are found out, it will be mazui. What does mazui mean?
I'm guessing bad, but I
Yes,
don't know the word.
Mazui does mean bad. It'll be bad if we're found out, you know. And then what would be bad to find out? That's what this ga is marking. The thing that would be bad if they found out is the no. So no, this is pronoun no. You would not have been taught this in class. You might be taught it as like nounification no, because it's complicated to learn pronouns. But what it is just like the word the one or the thing. So in this case, it's like the act, or I'd say, which in English you wouldn't say, but it literally says the act of koko ni iru. What does that mean?
Being here.
Yes, so the fact that we're here, if that is found out, it would be bad. So the no, I just translated in order to have a space there would be the fact that we're here, but it literally says this idea-ness of here-ness, just describing the pronoun. So we could be us. For example, if we are here, if that is found out, that would be bad. Would be another way we could translate it, and filling the no pronoun with we. We are here. If that was found out, that would be bad. But it's so this is like not the best example of it acting as like an easily Englishly translatable pronoun, but that's just what it is grammarly. So it's just the fact that we're here is a way to think about it, I guess. Grayson, next line will be for you.
と言って、ジャックは窓から顔を引っ込めた。
So first off, we got so itte. What does that mean? Have you ever heard so desu ne?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
that's how it is. Or
That's
something
how
like
it is. So desu ne. Yeah, that's right. The so here is the that. It's a previously mentioned item that we are re-quoting in this context as a pronoun. So is, in this context, shish, ここにいるのがバレたらまずいよ.
Okay.
That is what that so means. It is the previous stated item that was said out loud. So when people say
This is
so
what-
desu ne, they're saying the thing that you previously said out loud, I agree with you. That's right.
Okay, so the ite is dead. Yeah, okay. That's what Jack said.
Exactly. And then we have the te saying after he did that. So you didn't do this at the same time. So after he says, it'll be bad if we were found out. What does Jack do? He
Pulls the window open, I guess.
That's a good guess. So kara does mean from, but the particle o is what he does the action to. He owes a cow. You know what a cow is?
No.
A cow is a face. So Jack, he takes a face and he komerus it. He pulls it back. In this context, we can make the assumption that Jack is pulling back his own face because earlier he stuck his head out the window. So from the window, he pulls back his face. It is theoretically possible he could have pulled Annie's face back from the window, but they probably would have specified it as Annie no kao. Since the face is not being specified, it makes more sense to assume it was the previously mentioned human being's face, which is Jack's. So yeah, Jack, he pulls his head back from the window after he says, be quiet, if someone found out we're here, that'd be bad. The next line here goes to Zapic.
それからもう一度荒野の中を見回した。So also, once more, he looks over the interior of the cabin or small hut or
Perfect. And literally just says kara after and then sore that after that from that. Next line here is going to go to Zapic again.
それにしてもこんなにたくさんの本一体誰のだろう。So それにして it's like also.
Yes, the mo is a also. I would probably translate it's even in this context. This is confusing because the word mo is always even, but there is no real way to say also in Japanese. So also is like attached on to even. So it's like I went to the store and even Bob went to the store. Is conveying the same information as I went to the store and Bob also went to the store. It's just like the context is more aggressive in English if we said even Bob went to the store. So in Japanese, the aggressive context is full context based rather than being the word based. So in this context, even would make sense. So even doing on top of that, それにしても is literally what that says, which is basically saying, although.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So it's like wondering who has all these books.
Exactly. Whose books do all of these even belong to, I wonder? The next line here is going to go to Afifa.
ふと見ると、 ほとんどの本にしおりが挟んである。
Yep.
いや、あの、音を見ると、
So ふと is kind of like the sound of something suddenly happening. ふと. Do you know what the to particle marks? We've seen this a couple of times so far today. What is this if slash when doing here?
うん、
So earlier I said it's just describing what you notice right after the first sentence. It just means immediately after doing that, this is what we observe. So immediately after doing what?
after seeing,
Yep. Immediately after looking, he notices the following information. ほとんどの本にしおりが挟んである. Ooh, you probably haven't seen である before. It's the so have you guys learned passive form yet?
There's like a ta.
Yeah, it's a areru passive form. So this hasandearu is the same as hasamareru, hasamareru, which is basically saying that the shioris did not do the physical action of hasamuing. Someone else did hasamuing to the bookmark, but the reason why we have aru is that we don't care who did that. They're not here. We don't know anything about them. For example, kaku. Do you guys know what kaku means?
to write.
To write, exactly. That's exactly what I want. To write. Kaku, to write. So a stop sign, right, has the word stop written on it. So you wouldn't say someone wrote stop on the stop line. You'd say kaite aru, right? Stop is written on the stop sign, would be what you would say. But you don't care who did the writing, right? We're not talking about that person. So the te aru means that we don't care who did it. Passive form, which would be kakareru, would also be was written. But this insinuates we care about who wrote stop on the stop line. Like perhaps we were mentioning that person. Like the stop sign was written stop by a little girl somewhere. Like you would insinuate that we're talking about that person in some way. So the adu is here because we don't have any information about who did this, and we don't really care to find out in this specific sentence. Hasamu means to put in between. So this is to have been put it in between something. To be in between. To be in between. So what was put in between hon?
Nearly all of the books.
That's a good guess, but it's actually a shiori. Shiori is a bookmark. So it says most of the books inside of them, ni, at that location, we have bookmarks stuck there. So there's bookmarks stuck inside of most of the books once he looks over and gives a good view at them. Ah, watashi, kono hon mitai. And he says, ooh, I want to look at this book. And the next line here is go to Grayson.
Ani gattori aketa no wa yoshi ni shiro no e ga tsuite iru furui hon datta.
Perfect. So now we have that pronoun no again, but we actually have a really good sentence to show why it's a pronoun. I'm going to go delete all the extra information from the sentence. 兄が取り上げたのは本だった. Do you know what's one of the ways we can translate no as? So earlier we did the fact that thing would work better in this context because a hon is a thing It's not a person, so it's not a one, and it's not an action, so it's not the fact that. It is an object, a thing. So if this is thing, what is the hon ga toriageta telling us? Do you know?
Wait. Honga tori. I'm not sure what the tori.
So tori comes from the verb toru, which is to take. Do you know what ageru means? Ageru is it can be things like that. You're talking about akeru specifically is what you're thinking of opening. But ageru comes from the kanji ue, which means up. So it's to do upsies. So to raise. So we have raising plus taking means to pick up. Toriageta. So Annie toriageta does what?
Picks up the book.
That is true, but literally she picks up the no is what it says. The no that was picked up by Annie. So the thing Annie picked up was what?
The book.
Exactly. So that's literally what this is. The thing that Annie picked up was the book. And then we have more information. This book was furui.
Old.
Yes. And e ga tsuiteru. What does this tsuku mean? We've seen this once before today.
I don't know.
Tsuku is to be attached. What was attached to this old book? And e was attached. E means picture.
Oh, okay.
What kind of picture was attached to this old book? Oshiro no e.
Not sure.
Shiro means castle. So a picture of a castle was attached to this old book at the location of hyoshi. Do you know what kami is?
No.
That's paper. I think that's the kanji for paper there. Anyway, hyoshi is the cover of a book. Hyo means cover. So it's all together. It says the thing that Annie picked up was an old book who on its cover art was a castle. Pennsylvania 州のガイドブックもあった。There was also a guidebook on the state of Pennsylvania. And the next line here is going to go to Zapic.
ジャックはそれを手に取ってしおりの挟まっているページを開けてみた。So Jack takes that. So it's talking about the book, maybe?
He is. He takes that book. Probably the guidebook.
Yeah.
Where does he take it to?
To his hand or...
Yes, exactly. He takes it in hand. And then he 開けてみた.
Opens and looks at...
He opens what?
A page in the book?
Yep, he opens to a page. Specifically, the page where a shiori has been hasamatte. This hasamaru is the exact same verb that we saw over here, which is hasande. But it is the transitive intransitive pair. So hasamaru is the same as hasandearu for general purposes. They both mean to be inside.
Oh.
It's just not a conjugation. It's a word that means that. So which page did he flip to?
The one that's bookmarked.
Exactly. He flips over to the bookmark page. Frog Creek no machi no shashin da. Oh, it's a picture of Frog Creek. So right there, shashin. Oh, there is not a glottal stop in there. Where is a glottal stop with SH? 写真. That's a long sentence. I'm going to give it to Zapic.
図書館も学校も公園もこのツリーハウスの窓から見える景色とそっくりの写真が載っている。So he's talking about all the pictures that's in the book, the library, the school, the park, the view from the treehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the view of the treasure is exactly the same as what is depicted in the picture.
Yeah.
The next sentence here goes to Grayson.
それよりも、お兄ちゃんが見たいのは、こっちじゃない。よりも
So we saw Yodi earlier. Does anyone remember what Yodi means?
Rather than?
It means less. It's attached to whatever is less. So sore, what does sore mean?
This.
It's that.
This thing.
Yes.
That.
This is a kore. That.
Oh, yeah.
So that is less. So even with that being, so this is saying even that is less as a way to say more importantly, right? That's the same meaning. More importantly, the previous item thing is less important. That's what more importantly means. So the difference between Japanese and English is that their focus is on the lessness, and in English our focus is on the moreness. So it's more natural in Japanese to focus on it. So like for example, in English we'd say apples are bigger than strawberries. In Japanese it would be strawberries are not as big as apples. So it's like a culture difference in their language formation. So that's what that is. This is the same as more importantly, but literally says that is less importantly than what's happening next. So more importantly, what?
The older brother saw that. Or she's talking to her older brother.
She is talking out loud in this sentence, yes. These little things right here are Japanese quotation marks.
Yeah.
お兄ちゃんが見たいのはこっちじゃない? What does no mark? Do you remember? What was no?
This thing.
The thing.
Did you see that? Did you see this thing?
Close. Mitai. So tai means want, and we added it with miru, which is to see. So mitai means want to see. There's two mitais. If you see mitai without any kanji, that is a different word. But since there's kanji here, we could assume it's to want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing the big brother wants to see is kochi janai? Kochi. So kochi is very similar to koko.
Here?
Yes. Isn't it over here? Kochi feels more like kore. This is probably closer to what it is. Kore janai? Than koko. It's like it's its own word, but it's pretty similar to that. So yeah, isn't it over here? So the thing that my big brother wanted to see, wouldn't it be this one? And the next line here is going to go to Afifa.
兄が沖縄本の指さした。The older brother touched a book.
Ani can, so ani, right, can mean older brother. That would have a kanji like this probably, right? And say ani, Wait, what did I write? Annie. This right here is in
her name
katakana,
is
so it's her name
Annie.
Annie. Yes. The other hint is the fact that it's long. Big Brother is not Annie, it's Annie, without a long e at the end. But the other big thing is the fact it's written in katakana in the specific book where the main girl's name is Annie, and we know she calls her brother Oni-chan. So lots of little hints. So yeah, Annie, what did she do?
She stretched the book.
Good guess. Do you know what a yubi is?
Finger.
Yes, and sasu is like the point. So yubi sasu is the point with your finger, basically. So what does she point at?
A big book.
Yes, exactly. Annie points at a big book. Perfect. And an actual example of a t with s afterwards is a keshite, which means for sure. So it's not keshite, it's keshite. Since shashin was not an example, I was wrong about that. 恐竜の図鑑だ. It is a dinosaur encyclopedia book. And the next line here is going to go to Grayson. Grayson?
Jaku, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, there was just a delay.
Oh, okay. Jaku wa omowazu sore o hiroi ageta.
Do you know what omo means?
Something with a heart.
There is a heart there. Do you know what kokoro means?
Kokoro is heart, yeah.
But what kind of heart is it? Is it the physical heart in your chest?
Not always.
You're right, it's not the physical heart, it's the emotional heart.
Uh-huh.
It's the same with omo. Omo is your emotional thoughts.
Oh.
If you're talking about thoughts that are not emotional, like 5 plus 5 equals 10, if you were thinking that in your brain, that would be kangairu. It's a different word. So omo is literally emotional thoughts. So it's like thinking, I like the color purple. That would be omo. It's the literal things you're thinking, but without any kind of like deep thinking. So pondering, kangairu. Doing math, kangairu. Thinking about colors, omo. Things like that. So that's what omo is. So that you're right, the kokoro there is there for a reason. It's a very, very useful reason, actually. Then we have the zoo. I mentioned this to Zapic before. Do you remember what zoo tells us? Showed up once before, I think.
You might, but I don't remember.
Oh,
But
good.
almost isn't.
It's
Yeah,
basically the same as nai. So this is not omo, it's omo wa nai. Do you know what nai form tells us?
right. It's
Negative.
negative.
It is the negative, you're right. So this is a negative. The zoo is here rather than nai because it's in the middle of a sentence, right? We're not describing sore as omonai, the thing that does not think. Instead, we're describing Jack as doing the verb omowanai, and then we have like an and in there, basically. So in English, this is expressed by saying without, right? He did not think is the same as without thinking. So, but without thinking could be in the middle of the sentence, while he did not think, period, is at the end of the sentence, right? So since we're in the middle of the sentence, without thinking, Jack, he, hiroyagetas. Any idea what hiro means?
Not sure.
Mm-hmm. So hiroyageru comes from the verb hiro. Have you ever heard hirota? Let's see, it looks like this. I just said hirota, you know, the same verb as hiroi, because that tends to pop up in, I feel like in anime, sounds like a common word, hirota. It'll be like a hirota mono, a thing that was hirotad. So hiro is to pick something up with the idea that normally it was like something on the ground that you picked up. A lot of times you'll pick it up and it's like a lost item, or you pick it up and you stick it in your pocket and now it's yours. It tends to be like using that kind of idea for things. So it's like when you have that Pokemon in the front of your the party that has a pickup move and it just picks up random junk and gives it to you. It's kind of like that as a verb. Hiroi, hiro. So hiroi is letting us know that he is picking up the sore, which in this context is the kyoru no zukan. Sorry, this is so weird that they have half the kanji here. Threw me off for a second. So it just means he's picking it up. So the ageru here is just repeating it twice, basically, because that's the up part of it. Because theoretically, if you just saw hiro, it would kind of insinuate he stuck it in his backpack afterwards. Like that would be like the connotation. He picked it up, put it in his pocket, or put it in his backpack would be the insinuation. Since we have ageru, we kind of know he probably did not put it in his backpack. We're just talking about him picking something up that was probably on the floor, type of vibe. So we're kind of like taking away the stealing context that hiroi kind of has. So the next part here is going to go to Atifa.
青い布のし、折り川さんである。No, I think I read that wrong.
No, you're right. Hasandearu.
Sunday to go in between.
Yes, to go in between. Good memory. Our vocab word of the day.
What's
So what-
nuno?
Hi, nuno means cloth. So this shiori is
Blue
not made out of
cloth.
paper. Right, it is blue.
Is going between the bookmark.
It is describing the bookmark. See how we have the no particle here? So the bookmark is made out of cloth and it is blue. So a blue cloth bookmark. So it's some kind of weird fancy bookmark. Maybe it's like leather or something, I don't know. Rather than a bookmark made out of paper or anything. It could be one of those ribbon bookmarks, maybe. That's cloth, theoretically. Something like that. So contextually, it's probably in between the sore that he picked up, which was the Kyoryu no Zukan. So a nice thing about Japanese is that it's just like in English how each sentence should kind of have like one thing they're talking about. So each paragraph has one thing they're kind of talking about. So this paragraph is talking about the dinosaur encyclopedia. So without thinking of it, Jack picked up the dinosaur without thinking about it. And the same kind of thing, this blue bookmark is in between the dinosaur encyclopedia. And this occurs with all of the different kind of paragraphs. And then we make a new paragraph just like in English when somebody talks, or if we're kind of changing what it is that we're talking about. So since this previous line was that, we were keeping with that as like our topic. The next line here is going to go to Zapic.
だけど、勝手に読んでもいいのかな？誰の本かわからないのに。だけど、is it really okay to read this?
Yes, and lakatte means without being given permission, which is hard to throw into the English sentence.
Yeah.
We just decide to read this all on our own without acknowledging a single person. This makes the sentence really long.
Yeah. And we don't know whose book this is.
Yes,
Because, since we don't know.
Since we don't know what book it is. That's a good way to translate the no ni. In case you're curious, this no ni is pronoun no with ni afterwards, grammarly. But it's not going to be taught like that because that makes it really hard to get pronouns in our head. Because it's more useful to be like the even though kind of meaning of no ni, since that is how it's normally used. Our next line is going to go to Grayson.
しかし、兄はもうお城の本を広げて、楽しそうにページをめくっている。
Perfect. So first we have しかし.
しかし。
Mhm. Discussion means however.
あ
Annie はもうお城の本を広げた。What did Annie do?
うん she picked up the castle book.
That's a good guess, because you're thinking about, because you saw this hirogeru, and you're like, oh, that's hiroi. I just saw hiroi. Hiro from hiroi. And this is so much easier when we have kanji. But the word hiroi has two possible things. It could be hiroi with this kanji that we see right here, which means spacious. Or it could be from the verb hiro that we saw earlier, which has the te plus ao kanji. So this is hirogeru, the verb form of the adjective hiroi, which means spacious, and not the verb form of the adjective hiroi, which is to have not adjective, stem form of hiroi of hiro, which is to have been picked up. So yes, they're very similar. So to make something spacious, what do you think that means to this book? How do you make a book more spacious, more wide?
Opens the book, like
Exactly.
unfolded.
She opens the book. So this kind of idea is that it just kind of feels like she just is being more clever with the vocab usage, being more metaphorical. She spreads open the book, right? Rather than she opens the book. That's more boring. And then we have the mole saying that she's already done this. By the time he looks behind, Annie has the book wide open, and she is doing mekuru. Mekuru means to flip. What do you think she's flipping?
Well, I see peiju.
So the page, which is pages.
Peiji, yeah.
She's flipping the pages of the book in a certain way, in a way that looks like she is being tanoshi.
Tano looks like medicine.
It does look like medicine. You're right, because fun drugs. Who can say no to that? Kusuri. The difference is that it has this right here on top.
Oh, okay.
Tanoshi means fun, which is what the joke was coming from. I just remember that from when I was learning. It was like a big thing because I believe this is the grass radical.
Yeah, it's like a vegetation type radical. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where that joke came from. So she looks like she has lots of fun flipping the pages. Now, before I let you guys read the next sentence, I thought this would be a really good sentence to show what this te is doing here. Because we've seen it a lot, and we basically know it means like and, as we do the first clause and then we do the second. But what makes this and special is that it insinuates we needed to do this first before the second action could be completed. Could Annie flip through the book if she never opened it? No, it's not really physically possible. So that's why we can use te form here. If you had two actions that were fully unrelated, it's a little bit weird to use te form and instead you use a different and, which we haven't really seen very much of in this book. But that's what all of these te form ands are telling us. It says this had to have happened first before the second one was even possible. He had to first put his backpack down before he could open up the book because he didn't have hands. So things like that. It just insinuates a series of progression of action. So the next line here is going to go to, I think Afifa. I think you haven't had turn. I get people confused. I start talking.
ジャックも背中のリュックをのカニを置いて、キュリアス缶を拾ってみた。Jack also
So, oite means to set down. What does he set down?
リュック
You're right,
背中
ryuku.
のリュック
Exactly. The Senaka no ryuku is a backpack that was on his back. Ryuku comes from rucksack.
Rucksack.
Yeah. Which I think is more common in British English to refer to a backpack, maybe? I don't know.
It is. It's also the German word for backpack.
Ah, it's the German word for a backpack.
But it's also
That
British,
is
yeah.
why, because like it's like a familiar word, but it's like not commonly used in American English. We say backpack.
Yeah.
It's the backpack that's on our Senaka. It's the Senaka pack. That's what we'd say.
In Russian, it's rucksack too.
So yeah, that's where they're borrowing it from, not American English. It's like pan, which is bread in French or something, or German, I don't know. Anyway, so yes, he puts down his backpack that was on his back, and where does he put it?
床
On the yuka. You're correct. Yuka, if you look at the kanji, do you know what that kanji in the middle is? What is this? Pronounced as ki.
tree.
It is tree. This is because floors are normally made out of tree in the olden days, because we normally had wooden floors. Maybe. So he put it down on the floor, his backpack, and then what did he do? What was his second step? 恐竜図鑑を開いてみた。
開いて to open.
It is to open. So here we're being more boring. We're not using the spread it out. We're just saying he opened. What did he open?
Is that something to do with dinosaurs again?
Yes, dinosaurs. Zukan is a picture encyclopedia book.
Yeah.
So you could just say picture book, but it's not like the dinosaur went to the park and then it's not that. It says this is a blank dinosaur and this dinosaur is really tall. It's a dictionary. It's a picture dictionary is what it is. And we've seen this mita a lot lately. It basically means it's the first time you've done the action. So it just doesn't translate well to say he tried to open the book. It sounds weird in the context in which it's being used, because obviously he's not going to fail at opening up a book. It's not locked up. Next is Zapic.
しおりの挟んであるページに、よきゅうペテラノードンの映画載っていた。
So I just thought I'd bring this up while I was thinking about this. No is not pronoun no. It's pretty similar to adjective no, like senaka no ruku, but this is replacing ga. This is shiori ga hasande aru peiji ni, but you can replace ga with no in relative clauses to make them easier to read. Specifically if you have the ga is right next to the verb. So if you had like a o in here, then you'd have the O and the ga, but when we're lacking an O, we could just replace it with a no to make it, like I said, easier to read.
しおり, what was that bookmark?
Yes, Shiori was bookmark. Our subject of the sentence though is e. E ga notte ita.
載っていた。
So, notteiru is to be depicted in, to be on. I think it was the same word that we kind of saw earlier where we were talking about the treehouse was on the branches that split up on the tree. I think it's the same verb there. But yeah, it's like to be placed on, that kind of deal. To appear in print is another meaning of the word. It is surprisingly different kanji tend to ride. It's like that versus to ride, it's like that. So yeah, so we have a picture in something. A picture of what?
Yokiryu, also it's I guess a type of dinosaur.
Yeah, depending on how much of a dinosaur fan you are. It's the pterodactyl kind of dinosaurs. It's a
Yeah.
dinosaur that has wings, the flying ones, any of those guys. And specifically, it says a pteranodon is a name of one of those pterodactyl ones, whichever
Yeah,
one's
I
a
see.
pterodon. And these are
So
depicted at a certain location. Where are they? Where is it? Where is this
at
pterodon?
at the page that was
Mm-hmm.
bookmarked.
Exactly, at the page that was bookmarked. Perfect. And I'm going to fiddle with settings because it looks like I have weird settings on here. On. Doop. Let's see. There we go. That's what it should have looked like. Do, 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 do. Okay. So the sixth line here is going to go to Grayson.
コウモリの羽のような翼を大きく広げて空を悠々と飛んでいる。
Perfect. コウモリの花のような翼を大きく広げて、空を悠々と飛んでいる。So our first sentence is the コウモリの花のような翼を大きく広げて。And we're talking about, right, the 翼竜. The 翼竜. Do you know what a tsubasa is?
No.
Tsubasa is this kanji right here under yokuryu, which means wings.
Oh.
So the tsubasa, it was hirogetad. What does that mean? We saw this earlier describing a book.
Spacious?
Yeah, it's spacious. But what happened? Well, how would you make wings spacious? What would you do?
The wings are unfolding?
Yes, they're unfolded, they're spread out. And they're spread out okiku, which just means they're fully outspread. And they also is saying the wings are big. They're just fully, bigly outspread. Now these
What's
wings,
ku?
what?
What is the ku for? I know oki, but what is the ku?
Well, oki is an
Uh-huh.
adjective.
Yeah.
Adjectives can only describe one thing. Do you know what the one thing an adjective can describe is?
Noun.
Nouns. Is hirogeru a noun?
I guess not.
It's not. So that's why it's okiku. That's what that ku is doing. The
It
e
makes it an
has been
adverb?
swapped. Yeah, it makes it into an adverb. It's that's all that is. So all adverbs. We saw this earlier with chisaku as well. Chisaku mieru, the C as if it was small. All it means is that we're describing the verb rather than describing the object in some way. Speaking of adverbs, the uu is also an adverb, but that one's marked by to. So adverbs are going to be marked by three things in Japanese, or it's going to be literally an adverb. But it's going to be marked by either to for sound effects, ku if it's an e adjective, or ni if it's a noun or a na adjective. These are the three adverbal markers that turn things that were not adverbs into adverbs. And sometimes ni can be dropped. For example, zu. Does anybody remember what zu meant? We saw it earlier with omowazu.
Without?
Without. So without theoretically is an adverb. Grammarly. You're describing how they did an action. For example, I drank tea without milk. We're not describing the tree. We're actually describing the way in which we drank the tea. So because of that, it's actually zuni is like the full legal term of it. But because everybody knows zu ni is that ni very commonly is dropped and you just get the zu on its own, like we've seen in this book. But you will also sometimes see both of them added together. But it's that kind of ni sometimes is dropped in if it's like a very commonly used adverb. Basically, they tend to drop the ni because they're like everybody knows in this context this would be an adverb. You wouldn't see it not as an adverb. So that was our adverb section. And then now we have a na adjective describing the wings. What do we know about these wings? Komori no hana no yo.
I'm guessing they're bat wings based on the word.
They are like bat wings. Exactly. Komori is bat. Hane is also a wing. So both tsubasa and hane mean wings. And
that's
yo,
the in the other kanji for flying.
yes. Yes, right up here in the top.
Yeah.
Because you have two wings for your tsubasas. Perfect. So yes, we have its wings spread out widely, and the wings look like bat wings. And this creature is tondeiruing. What does that mean?
Flying?
Yes, it means flying. So the dinosaur is flying in the sky with its wings lift out. And the O here is saying where they're doing it. So you haven't probably learned this before, but O as a particle, you first learned it as the object particle, right? You guys all know that. We had the previous sentence, the wings are widely open. There's a second use of O, which is through. It's used with paths that you take where the path is not the destination and it's not necessarily the start point. It's just the whole action has occurred throughout that location. For example, if you went through a door with like nukeru, the door would take O because you didn't start at the door, you started before the door. You didn't end at the door, you went through the door. So any kind of like location that's not necessarily the start or end point, O is going to be used as our third special location marker, basically. So the Sora is a location. He didn't end flying in the sky, and he didn't start flying in the sky, right? He would have probably started like on the floor if he was like a bird, right? The bird starts on the floor and then flaps to get into the sky, right? And then when it stops flying, it's going to be on the floor again. So it didn't start or stop flying in the sky. It started before it was in the sky. So that's why we use O as the location particle. And you use the sound of being like very leisurely. So he's not going like a hummingbird going, right? He's gliding. So the UU is giving us the gliding vibe. Next line here is going to go to Zapic.
ジャックはプテラノドンの翼を指でなぞりながらうっとりとつぶやいた。Let's see. While Jack was
He was nazoruing.
Nasori.
Nazoru is to follow something.
Oh, follow
Like-
it with his finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what did he follow with his finger?
The wings
Mm-hmm.
of that dinosaur.
Yes. And then he tsubuyakus. Do you remember what that meant? It's been a while since we saw tsubuyaku.
No, I don't.
Tsubuyaku is to mutter. So he
Oh, yeah.
absent-mindedly mutters the next line, which is, honmono no pterodon ni hatte mitai na. So he says, ooh, I really, really want to see and meet a real pterodon. You know what they say about wishes. Next line here is going to go to Grayson.
Yeah. 突然兄が悲鳴を上げた。I guess suddenly any scream?
Exactly. She raised her voice screaming. Perfect. どうしたんだ? What's wrong with you? Kaiju ga, it's a monster. And the next sentence here is going to go to Zapic.
ま、またか。いい加減にしろよ。So he's saying again, put yourself together.
Good guess. So this part was right, but the kagen part is weird. So kagen basically means like behavior in this context, and means good behavior, and then shiro means do this. So kagen ni shiro means behave yourself.
Oh,
It is normally translated as knock it off, stop fooling
yeah.
around, but literally it says behave yourself. I don't know why they don't just translate it as behave yourself, because I feel like it's confusing to do it the other way. But yeah, shiro means do that. In what way? In the way of behaving as a good child. Next line here goes to Afifa.
嘘じゃない？本当に怪獣がいたのよ。It's not a lie. There's a real kaiju.
Yes, there's a real kaiju. Kaiju means a monster, but specifically it's a monster that is very large. It has, I think,
Not a
relatively
Godzilla.
recently, exactly. Godzilla is a kaiju. It's one of the many, and so is like Mothman. I think they had like a whole kaiju movie made where they had like 5,000 different monsters kill each other or whatever. But any monster like Godzilla is a kaiju. This means big old monster. And I think we'll stop here since we got a nice little picture as our stopping point. You can see our big old